Welcome in this Inner Game podcast. This is a podcast where we have conversations with founders and leaders about their insights, their doubts, their breakthrough, their successes that made from them great leaders, or they are on the way to become a great leader. And today we will have a conversation, or I will have a conversation with Michael Neal. He is based in Spain. He's a founder of Integrated Alliances. And actually, he explained me that he was one of the first people working on LinkedIn, let's say. LinkedIn was 1 year old or something, you told me. So welcome, Mike. Thank you very much for your time and your presence. And my first question to everyone is, how are you?
Well, I get to live in Spain instead of living in a basement in Minnesota shoveling snow in America. So it's an upgrade to my life.
Yes, I
And
know what that means.
yeah, you know Spain.
We
Yes, you
live,
do.
yeah, we live there.
In the north, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's been a really cold year, rainy year. They set the record for the amount of rain in Madrid, maybe in Spain, for the month of March a couple days ago. And there's still 10 more days to go of rain, possibly.
Wow,
So it's been a strange year.
that's great news because the last 3 years it was really dry.
That's right. We'll take it. It's
Yeah.
okay. We go like this. We
Yeah.
put another log on the fireplace and enjoy the life.
Yes. Thank you, Mike, for being here again. I have three questions for you on leadership. Yeah. And the first one is really about what was your opinion, your view on leadership that you had to let go, that's not anymore the same opinion or the same belief you have about leadership.
Well, one of the things that people believe is that old people have all the answers because they've got all of this experience. And there's some truth in some areas to that. If you've got 40 years experience like I do, it gives you some wisdom, but it doesn't necessarily give you wisdom on the new technologies. The new technologies have always been driven by younger people. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, all of them were founded by leaders, big, powerful leaders that are in their 20s. And so looking at younger people for leadership ideas as opposed to older people for leadership ideas is something that takes a little bit getting used to as I'm in my 60s now.
Mm-hmm. So what changed exactly? Can you put some more light on that, on what you just said? So what changed in your way at looking at leadership?
Well, it's interesting that people that look up to me as a leader, I look down to them as leaders
Mhm,
equally well, and it has to do. I'm in the technology space.
mhm,
So technology is a little different than many of these other markets because you can be in your early 20s and have a really great idea that's the next Yahoo, the next Chat GPT. You really
mhm,
can.
mhm,
And I wish if I could have done something different, this might be good for your audience. If I'd have done something different, I would have done more investigating, learned more how to program.
mhm,
Because many of those people that I mentioned, what they had that launched their entrepreneurship career is a knowledge of programming, to take an idea, to turn it into code that other people can use. And I had an original IBM PC when I was in college. I mean, it was 1982. Okay, I mean, floppy disks, 64K of memory, and I did a bit of programming then, and it helped me get my first job, and it really helped. But I dropped off from that. I started mostly working with existing applications, and I had great ideas for programs that could have been the next this, the next that.
Hmm.
And I wish I had pursued that. So if I had any advice, by the way, for your team, is to at least learn to code a little something. And
Hmm.
there's no code programming you can do that'll give you a taste of it. It's grabbing things and putting pieces together without writing, actual lines of code. But
Hmm.
I biggest thing for me was getting involved in computers right out of college, in college actually, and that launched my career.
Hmm. So, if I understood you well, you said that instead of looking up, what changed for you is really looking at ideas from young leaders.
Yeah, that's where the new ideas are happening. Many of the folks that I mentioned didn't even finish college. They started in college, but they didn't finish. Bill Gates didn't finish college.
Because
Uh,
they were so good, went so fast, and then they couldn't finish college. Is it that?
they got that idea and they didn't want to wait 2 years until they
Hmm.
graduate to do
Hmm.
something with the idea. The
Hmm.
time was now. So understanding whether your idea, your entrepreneurship idea is ready now and going forward with it, or whether it can wait a couple of years as you learn more before you launch it. That's a critical thing that's hard for a lot of people to learn. Frankly, it's hard for just about anybody to learn unless they get some good advice, probably from somebody older at that point, on when is the right time to pull the trigger to say, I'm gonna pivot to doing that instead of going to classes, I'm gonna go build a product or a service.
Hmm. Does that apply only to young people, in your opinion?
Well, I think I don't mean to, I use some real examples there, but there's plenty of companies that are started by people that are older as well.
Hmm.
Um, but the newer ideas come from people who generally have an uncluttered mind. And
Hmm.
in those cases, they're, the first computer, the first software, the first search engine, the first social media platform, the first, what is the next big first? Right now, it's obvious that it's AI. Okay. It's
Hmm.
pretty obvious. What's the next thing beyond AI? And that's going to come from somebody who's, maybe not graduated from high school yet. They're going to be the one that's going to come up with that next
Hmm.
big thing.
That's a very nice point of view. Yeah, thank you. Um, what was that one moment, Mike, in your whole career that was really, really um, changing your point of view, your view at leadership, like a specific event or situation?
Oh, it was the 2008 financial crisis.
Hmm.
In America, it essentially caused a global financial crisis. But my company had been in business for 7 years. We had expanded from doing LinkedIn training and LinkedIn services and LinkedIn events to having branch offices. And we had 9 branch offices. There was integrated alliances of San Diego, California, of New York, of Dallas, Texas, of Minneapolis. We had 9 remote offices. And when the financial crisis hit, all of our remote directors, there was a director in each of those places, said, "No, I'm out. I got to go find a job. I've got to conserve my resources. This isn't going to work." Um, and that caused me to kind of we closed up all the remote offices, and now it was just us at headquarters in Denver, Colorado.
Hmm.
And I had to pivot from being to leading a group of 9 directors who were doing the work out there to being me doing all the work out there.
Hmm.
And I had to pick up the responsibilities of being in remote markets and from Denver. I was managing the Denver market, and it was doing great, and was doing some work in other places. Particularly speaking and training.
Hmm.
Um, I went on tour like a rock band. There were like mu music festivals that were going around the country. The Integrated Marketing Summit, for example, was one, and we hit maybe 15 or 20 cities. Every other day was another city, like a band plays in Denver, and then in Salt Lake City, and then they play in Kansas City. Those were real markets. We went from place to place, and it was really interesting because you get really good at what you do when you repeat it, and you repeat it, and you repeat it, and you get input from the audiences on what they like and what doesn't sing, like a comedian who knows what jokes work and what jokes don't work. And then after a while, all the jokes work because he's weeded out the ones that don't.
Mhm.
And in my presenting, as I went around the country, I was listening a lot. I would constantly be asking questions from the stage. Well, what do you think about that? Is green or blue better in this situation? Just to be
Mhm.
generic.
Mhm.
And so later on, I knew what the answers were going to be, so I put that into my presentation.
Mhm.
So I went from managing people who manage markets to managing a U.S. market all from one place instead of a two-tiered system.
From managing people to,
Yeah, I was managing directors in 9
yeah,
cities.
to.
And as opportunities would come up or there was more need for a different kind of training or event type, I would work with them and then they would work in their markets. And I had to assume that responsibility at corporate. So we became a national company, not a series of regional companies
Mhm.
as it had become.
Mhm.
I kind of miss it. I really like the distributed approach, but the
Mhm.
economy tanked. The economy just went terrible, and everybody was just fighting for themselves. There wasn't a sense of the greater good. It was just, I gotta survive.
Mhm.
And it was really bad in 2008, 2009 in the United States. It probably was around the world, but
Mhm.
we took it really hard right then.
Mhm. And right now, Mike, what are your target countries, or how do you work now? How is the whole company that you run? Is it still with?
My primary market is still the United States. We have a secondary market here in Spain. So the markets from where you lived and understand the customs are the markets that generally work out better. I don't understand the markets in Belgium, for example.
Mhm.
I don't understand the people and how they think. I mean, I speak English, which is valid in a lot of places. You have very good English, by the way. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Um, but the United States is still a really big market. Things went to virtual pretty quickly, and that made it easier for me to continue to service the markets I've been servicing. We
Mhm.
work with Mercedes-Benz here in Madrid, and my wife is also in the LinkedIn business, and she works with insurance companies and marketing companies. So there's a little bit of cross-selling between the two of us,
Mhm.
that I incorporate her work and what I do, and vice versa.
Mhm.
The issue has to comes into time zones.
Mm.
So I need to work into the night, into 8 or 9 o'clock at night, a lot of nights.
Mhm.
Now we
Mhm.
don't eat dinner till 9:30 in Spain, as you know. So
Mhm. Mhm.
so that's okay. You work up until dinner time. It frees up time in the morning for me to do either back office work or personal things. I go
Mhm.
to the gym every morning. We take a walk every morning, so I'm able to be more fit and more ready when I start my day at with client calls at 3 o'clock.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's different. In America, I was starting my client calls at 9,
Yeah.
and now I start them at 3. So
Mhm.
that's been a little bit. And like we had mentioned when we were chatting before, there's always work to be doing on the weekends. When
Mhm.
you're an entrepreneur, that just means you get to work. Maybe put some Pink Floyd on the stereo in the background and work in an environment you wouldn't work Monday through Friday on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to music Monday through Friday
Mm-hmm.
while I'm working, but I do on the weekends, and it just makes it a little easier to just
Mm-hmm.
go a little longer.
Mm-hmm. It's great, especially also when you talked about that you really learned to listen. You had to go to your clients actually, and start to listen on a deeper level. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a term in America called a fork in the road. Have you heard of that?
No, never that expression. I don't know that.
So you're going down a path, and then all of a sudden the road goes left, center, or right, and you've got to
Yeah,
decide which direction to go.
yeah, that one. Yeah.
The best way to know what direction to go is to ask somebody,
Mhm.
well, should I take road number one, road number two, or road number three, and
And
why?
why? Yeah, exactly.
Right. We both hit that at the same time.
Yeah.
Not because I always go left or left is the easiest,
Hmm.
but why? And processing the why is what a good speaker, trainer, question asker like yourself. Why? You're good
Hmm.
at asking why,
Hmm.
and because that's the story behind the story. That
Hmm.
understanding what motivated, what made that happen instead of just what happened,
Hmm.
um, puts a human element to things that are very often just black and white and just data and facts.
Have you met Mike on that crossing, the left or right question, someone who was really uh, the right person on the right moment to give you the right answer? Have you an example of this? Have you met someone like that?
Well, I'll share the most famous person that I ever met was the founder of LinkedIn. And I
Really?
spent a whole day with Reid Hoffman. It was 2007. LinkedIn was 3, 4 years old.
Hmm.
And he was a keynote speaker at an event in Denver. And I was instrumental in getting him to be the speaker.
Hmm.
It was my idea. I proposed it to a venture capital association that I was part of. And they got him. I mean, they paid him good money. I think they paid him $10,000. Nowadays, he'd get $100,000. Maybe
Hmm.
he wouldn't even do something like that now.
Hmm.
But in sitting with them, it was interesting that he had all these devices. I mean, phones were not what they are now,
Hmm.
in 2007. But he had his technology laid out in front of him while we were talking, and he would just pick up this device and do something, and over here and stuff. And then it was his time to be on stage. And I learned that people like that are always got a lot of things going on in their head,
Hmm.
and they've got some way, and whether it's a notepad or an application or something, to keep track of things so that it'd be very easy for anybody to forget something that was important. Oh,
Hmm.
at 2:15 I was supposed to do something. Well, I write it down, or I have something to make sure I know at
Hmm.
2:15 I'm supposed to do something, or
Hmm.
I've got a reminder or so.
Hmm.
I also met Jeffrey Gitomer. He's one of the world's most advanced and respected sales experts. He's a visionary in the world of sales. I mean, as high as it gets. I mean, his writings are syndicated everywhere. He's a strange fellow, but he's really, really cool. But he's a strange fellow. He uses words that you wouldn't normally use, um, um, words that are, rather blunt. Okay, words that
Hmm.
would get censored with asterisks over
Hmm.
them if they were
Hmm.
in writing
Hmm.
and stuff.
And in
And
what
he
way have they changed or helped you decide the right or left sides? In what way, both of them? Can you?
well with Reid Hoffman, I doubled down on my commitment to working with LinkedIn as a full-time job. I
Mhm.
was already doing that, but after seeing his vision for where things were going, I decided that's what I'm going to continue to do, even though the financial crisis hit. a year later. I mean, 1 year later, it would have been really easy if I hadn't had that extra incentive from meeting Reid Hoffman. Would have been easy for me to say, no, I'm just going to go back to selling computers. Like I kind of got the vision of it. And at the time, LinkedIn was not being used for sales. It
Mhm.
was being used for recruiting primarily.
Mhm.
2007, there was no sales navigator. There weren't company pages. We had just gotten pictures added. I mean, it was an early stage. It wasn't obvious. Facebook was still in college, and MySpace was the leader in the social platform world.
I don't even
But
know
having met,
MySpace.
remember MySpace?
No.
No, you don't. Justin Timberlake owns it now, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Um, it was the first social media platform out there, and it was really based around music.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was about bands and followings of bands, but you had profiles and networks and communications, and you connected with people, you
Mm-hmm.
followed people. It was very, very advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't pivot to business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it stayed true to the music world, and that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't enough to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Justin Timberlake bought it for $25 million. In the days when, LinkedIn was bought for $26 billion, and MySpace sold for $25 million. So it's 1,000 times less important,
Mm-hmm.
you could say.
Mm-hmm. And the
Um,
other man, like Jeffrey, how
yeah,
did he influenced your decision?
Jeffrey Gitomer was a sales trainer and all, and we'd been doing training in general. And when I met Jeffrey Gitomer, I pivoted to focusing in on doing sales training with LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I took his principles of general selling and applied them to the LinkedIn world.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas of prospecting, top of the funnel process. And
Mm-hmm.
I adapted that to LinkedIn outreach. And like maybe 5 or 6 years later, Sales Navigator came out. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a tool dedicated to that. But this was well before LinkedIn was really focused on the sales world. And I
Mm-hmm.
began to speak at sales conferences, the American Association of Inside Sales Professionals,
Mm-hmm.
AAISP, the the call center world
Mm-hmm.
was adopting LinkedIn, and I spoke at their conferences for 4 or 5 years in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and I got quite a following from that. These
Still
are
speaking?
sales, yeah,
Are you
these are
still?
yes. I spoke at it. I presented at it. I was the LinkedIn presenter.
But I
They
mean,
had,
still, are you still speaking? Are you still on stages?
yeah, and not so much here because the United States is where my market was. I've spoken
Mm-hmm.
a dozen times here in Spain, um, but I'm speaking to people that are not native English speaking people.
Mm-hmm.
That that went down when I moved here. It's a
Mm-hmm.
big deal to go to the U.S. to speak at a conference. I would, it would be $250 in an airline ticket to go to Chicago or Kansas City or Dallas, and another $100 a night for a hotel. So you're at, $500 to go to a conference, even if you're not getting paid. A lot of shows don't pay their speakers. At least they pay the big guy, but if you're in a breakout down here,
Mm-hmm.
you do it for marketing. You do it for
Mm-hmm.
marketing, find
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 4 days and $2,500 to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it just isn't and who's going to do your work at the office while you're
Yeah.
gone? So it's a little bit more difficult. I miss that. I really enjoy being on stage. I was really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
If a paid gig comes along that's 5 grand or more, sure, we'll still do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not seeking that out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeking out services work is
Mm-hmm.
primarily what we're doing now. And we built a LinkedIn application called Sales Helper that's what we're launching now with Mercedes-Benz here in
Mm-hmm.
Spain and to other people in the US and around the world.
You
And
build it?
yeah, we built it. I hired the developers. I'm the designer. I'm the creator of it.
You're the
Um,
creator of LinkedIn Helper?
no, Sales Helper. It's an
Ah, Sales
application
Helper.
with LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And,
Okay. I have
and
to.
it doesn't do any automation, so it doesn't violate the rules of automation for
Mm,
LinkedIn. It helps people do good one-on-one manual outreach to create personal relationships on LinkedIn
so
in a
interesting.
sales role for the most part.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
we've seen all these problems with automation and all, and with people getting in trouble and getting their accounts banned. And LinkedIn just severed Apollo and Seamless, which are two tools that were using a lot of LinkedIn stuff that they didn't like, and
mm,
they canned them. So our time is right for this. The one-on-one nature, the personal relationships you create on LinkedIn is what our application is designed to nurture.
mhm. Very interesting, Mike, really. It brings me to a last question. You already mentioned a little bit, but after all those years and still in business, and I feel your energy, I feel your passion. Um, what are you exactly doing on a daily basis, Mike, to 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 stay in that performance level and to keep your energy high and your yeah and to radiate it as well as you do. So what is that daily routine, or what are those daily routines
Well,
that you have?
it's best to describe a weekly routine because one day
Hmm.
differs quite a bit from another day. But in a weekly routine, I'm having calls like this, doing interviews like this, meeting
Hmm.
owners of companies that right now that provide products that go well with the work that I do.
Hmm.
So my work and their work align together, creating
Hmm.
strategic relationships at the owner level. I've got a good enough reputation, and I've been at it long enough that I can have calls with the top person
Hmm.
at many companies that other people wouldn't be able to get
Hmm.
in with.
Hmm.
There's a gatekeeper there, but when they see my LinkedIn profile or they've heard of me, I've got a brand that's been
Yes.
out there a while. They'll
Hmm.
uh they'll do a call, and we book a 20 or 30-minute call, and it goes for an hour.
Oh
we
yeah.
find we find things. I didn't write any notes on this call here, but I normally have two or three pages of notes here, um, with takeaways, things to
Mm,
do,
mm,
someone to introduce them to, a URL to send them, and vice versa. I'm getting introduced to people, and when you get introduced to somebody, you're halfway there.
mhm.
You've overcome the credential, the brand awareness, there or not. Doesn't matter if you've been introduced.
Mhm.
And
But
we're focused on specific things here. I mentioned the application and all.
mhm,
There's a lot of things that go with that. That's
mhm,
the meat on the plate, but you got your vegetables and your French fries and your desserts and your soup and all. So our product and what we do goes well with what other people do.
mhm,
And that really helps. So if there's advice I give the group out there, what goes well with what I sell? Think about what people are buying when they're buying you. What else are they buying? And seek those people out,
mhm.
because what goes well with what they sell might be me, might be what we have.
That's a cool one. That's a
Works
cool
really
one.
well. And also, you're not, it reels in your marketing a bit because you're marketing through other people. You're getting referrals and you're giving referrals.
Mhm,
That's where it does help to be older and more experienced.
mhm,
It takes a while to build a brand. My brand's been going at it for 20 years.
mhm,
And there's people who come on now in the space that I'm in that are, saying, I've got this brand, look at these posts I'm doing and all. And they've been at it for 6 months or a year. They've learned the idea of branding. They've read all the books, but it takes time to get a reputation.
mhm,
If I have 30,000 connections, and I've had 30,000 connections since 2009,
mhm,
I'm the 10th person to get to the top. I
mhm,
passed Barack Obama on the way, and I connected. with Barack Obama. I'm connected with the former president of the United States. And if you want to get a big network on LinkedIn, the way to do it is to start a long time ago. You've done well. You've done well. You've been at it a while. 14,000 connections takes a while to get.
Mm-hmm.
30,000 takes a while to get.
Mm-hmm.
People's goal should be to try to get 2 to 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's good enough nowadays. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to be as big of a network as you used to, because with 2 to 5,000 connections, you can pretty much see everybody that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't used to be that way. You used to have a big network to see everybody that's out there. But now that people are cross-connected as they are, and the LinkedIn algorithms are the way they are, you don't need to be as big. Frank,
Mm-hmm.
I have to spend a weekend deleting people so that some other time I can add people. It's not great, selling to sold out shows when you got to provide tickets to more people, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it watching football games in America. I would delete 200, 300 people watching a football game.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have football games in Madrid, so I can't do that anymore.
But I feel that it really gives you the energy. So the calls and meeting with the owners, this is really your thing, eh? It's
Yeah. Now it doesn't have to always be the owners, but if their companies have less than a couple hundred employees, I usually am. Usually they want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to someone who's a director of sales or the program partners manager. A lot of times they go, you should meet Mitch. I'll get you a call in with Mitch, and Mitch is the owner of one of the companies I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Or you should meet Barney. Barney would like to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
You're like Barney. He would thank me for introducing you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like that.
He is to be a little bit interesting too, because they don't want to introduce somebody that's that not so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They want to ride your coattail into the CEO and have the CEO that says, "Thanks for introducing me to Mike. That was good. That was good."
Mm-hmm.
He didn't waste 30 minutes of my time. In fact, we talked for an hour and we only allotted 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So another little tip I'd give people a little bit. Calendly is a great tool for creating calls and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making appointments. It's the number one. It's the one people should be using.
Mm-hmm.
Always allow a little extra time. You can put in a buffer at the beginning and the end of your calls, so they can overrun. You want to get ready like I did for our call here. You want to see who you're talking to a little bit. Don't say, where are you located again? That's a stupid thing to be asking somebody, right? How many connections do you have on LinkedIn? That's a stupid question. You can look these up. But allow some time afterwards.
Yeah.
Because and then ask as well, are we stuck? Are we limited to our 30 minutes here, or do you have a little time in case it runs over? So at the last minute, you're not getting that, boy, we're just in the middle of a conversation and you got to run off.
Yeah, they are back to back, and then no time and rushing, and it doesn't give space to the conversation. And
That's right.
for me as well, I
Everybody,
use Calendly.
both sides like it, right? I mean, everyone appreciates not having to, I'm sorry, in 30 seconds, my next guy's coming on the call here. You got to go because he's coming on the same Zoom line here.
Yeah. Mike, it was really inspirational for me. A great call. I really want to thank you for your presence, and for the listeners, those who look at the podcast. I would say take the wisdom, take the takeaways with you, and keep on challenging yourself. Try to think about the turning points in your careers. Listen to those who have spoken about theirs. And again, Mike, we are 5 hours away. Next week I will be in Spain, and Madrid and my place, it's about 5 hours. So I guess we will have to meet each other. Thank you for your time again, and being here and sharing your wisdom and your, would say, expertise.
Thank you, Bart. I really enjoyed meeting you, and we will meet in person sometime.
We
You know,
will.
I travel Spain. You probably travel Spain a little bit. We'll be in the same place at the same time for sure.
We keep in touch. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, buddy.